please call the roll.
Mrs. Buzan? Here. Mr. Contro?
Here.
Mr. Damrock?
Here.
Ms. Hart? Here. Mr. Klimo?
Here.
Mr. Kroll?
Here.
Mr. Marzano? Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Router?
Present.
Mr. Riddle?
Here.
Mr. Shay?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mr. Veerman?
Here.
Mr. Wozni?
Here.
And then Julie is going to be absent from the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any media or guests? Mr. Spooner, you want to introduce yourself?
Grant Spooner, LCTV.
Okay. Any other guests who wish to announce themselves? We have some unit gallery folks. Thank you for coming. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. Approval of minutes. Looking for a motion to approve regular minutes for June 22 as presented.
Motion, Riddle.
Riddle.
Shay.
Shay second. Any discussion, corrections, additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Tech Committee, Mike, it's all yours.
All right. First of all, we have the Motorola update. Staff provided the committee. We went through a number of these at Technology Committee. One thing I would like to, I'll discuss it under the county power outage. Does staff want to add anything about the CAT upgrade?
For the, which one, the 10 or the CAD 4? Which one?
10.
10, no. There's some emails that were sent out by Jeremy's staff about mobiles that have not checked into the system so they can get upgraded. They're working through those. And besides that, 10 is done. There'll be no more upgrades to it until we go to 4.
Okay. And then where are we at with 4?
4 will be shipped September 9th. It'll arrive at Westcom on September 18th with the team. The team will start the installation, and we will have turn up for testing by November 1st.
Records? Anything new there?
Only thing different on records is records will now be going to 4.2 instead of staying at 3.1. We got information from Motorola about 2 weeks ago that all the fixes and most of the enhancements we were looking for are in 4.2. So since CAD's going to 4.2, the whole suite will now be upgraded to 4.2 in the November install.
It'll be a similar mobile push as what's been going on with 10 then? I mean, same kind of mobile push?
Unfortunately, it's the same. They have changed the deployment package to try to make it quicker. The biggest problem we see are, for some reason, mobile's not checking in. So there's a window, light window, and the check-in. The guy's on vacation for a week, and he comes back, he's outside the window. The guys have to go back through and re-push it. But the overall process is similar.
Data conversion.
The conversion's still on hold, waiting for 4.2 install.
So once 4.2 install happens, I mean, any idea on the remaining data? How long do we get to finish it?
Well, it'll get turned back on with the new version. I don't know if it'll be any quicker. We're hoping it'll be a little bit quicker. But again, we still have a lot of data, and I believe we stopped at 2009, I believe. We have to go back to 99.
So we still got a long way.
So you said November 1 is turn up for testing. Do you have a projection? You guys have been saying first quarter of next year anyway, but I mean, any changes there?
And that's what we're still hoping on right now. The timeline on the project is for the first quarter to have it live. But obviously, you guys will see it in the centers for testing and beat on it prior to that.
So is that when we expect to have the backup going again at this first quarter of next year?
Correct. I mean, the backup will be working prior, but it'll be on 4.2, which we're not live on.
Anything on Zoll PCR?
I know that Lockport Fire and, I can't remember if it's Plainfield, there's 2 fire departments that are actually doing all the testing for 622, which is the version they're on. And they're waiting to get answers from them to see if there's any other tweaking they need to get done. If all that goes well, then she plans on pushing them out to the rest of the agencies.
Cool. We'll talk about administrative office systems in 8B. We'll talk about Laraway in 6C. Two-factor authentication. Klima, you're going to talk to the chiefs?
We have a meeting next 2 Thursdays? Yeah, 2 weeks.
VMware. Staff want to update us on VMware? I'm assuming that's what VM is?
Yeah, we're just finishing up getting the equipment to be ordered. Probably next week they'll start ordering the equipment. And once it starts coming in, the vendor will start the installation process and configuration with Jeremy. Again, we're probably looking at that project being completed sometime in the first quarter of next year.
County power outage.
I'm sorry, the VM that's the stuff we have to finance through, okay. Just as a quick summary on that, and it needs to be clarified. When this was in front of us last for $2.2 million, there was a statement made that we were mandated to have a bond for that. In checking with the rules and our past practices, that was not a mandatory performance bond. And plus the fact we've never done it in the past for a performance bond. The other factor is in the means of financing this, we would have had a much bigger hammer anyway, because the payments would have been significant to the vendor. So I felt comfortable not having a bid bond or a performance bond, which would have cost us $20-some thousand. So Steve was able to renegotiate that, and a local bank took care of the financing. So that's been buttoned up. But dodged a bit of a bullet for an additional $23,000 expense that we really didn't need. So.
And the vendor went ahead and did the performance bond at their costs.
Okay. Thank you. Power outage. Communicated with the county's facilities manager. As you know, we had a power outage at the county building, and the generator failed. The UPS ran out before we could do a soft landing. I think that we're notified. There's a detailed timeline from staff from the ETSB's perspective. Obviously, the power outage was exacerbated by the fact that we don't have an active backup or redundancy for CAD. So when the main system failed, that failure cascaded through. The update is they had a contractor out who did a full inspection and maintenance. This is from the facilities manager. They did find a part that failed. They have replaced that part. They've redone the firmware on monitoring systems. We replaced all the UPS batteries in the building that the county is responsible for, and we have tested under load and moved back on the Thursday schedule for that. So there was a failed part, and that is the result of their study. Just want to share that with the ETSB as I said I would.
How long until something more drastic might happen? Like, do the sump pumps operate frequently, or was there a chance of us getting some catastrophic impact from that? And that 12 minutes, or whatever it was, only 12 minutes left until we got notified about it? Is that right, or am I reading it wrong?
So there was a generator failure,
Right.
obviously. But the other thing is that a number of the batteries were impacted. So our normal UPS load that would carry that was shorter than it was supposed to be.
Okay.
You know, so
Don't we get notified if the generator comes on and the building is powered?
we did get notice, and the power kept going in and out, so it would tell us that it was resolved. Oh, you've got a problem, it's resolved. Oh, you've got a problem, it's resolved. And then when the generator finally kicked on to stay on, it overspun, and so the generator turned it off. It had a part failure. UPS didn't go long enough. As far as the sump pumps and that stuff, I don't know. We have had outages. Either those must be on the generator, or they must have some other. Is that because we've never had trouble with that?
Somebody dispatched to the building when we get a generator notice?
Yes,
Same
maintenance. My deputy, ETSB, and the maintenance manager were all here. That's how it got turned on. That's how it got turned back on to run.
All right.
So.
I have a question. Is this a county issue that this had happened? Is this?
Absolutely.
So this is something on the county?
Yes, absolutely.
It's your entire building,
Yep, it was
your
the
entire
whole
phone
thing there,
system,
so.
everything went.
And that's
Right,
us.
but are we, what I'm saying, I guess I'm not asking the question correctly, Mike. What I was asking is, so was that our fault, the county, that we didn't have a backup to get that back going?
Well, we had a part failure in our system. There's nothing we can do about that in advance. We don't know the part's going to break in advance. It's unfortunate. We've not. This is the second failure that we've documented in the county data center since 1992. You know, it only happens once every 12 or 13 years or so, but it happens.
So I'm assuming we're rectifying, like
Yes.
troubleshoot? We're gonna get a
And-
new generator, new,
Well, they've replaced all the batteries in UPS, okay? They've updated all the software and monitoring software, which we need to talk about access to these whole others. I don't have information on that yet. When I have it, I'll share it. And, you know, I'm gonna talk to Joel, this is me, not necessarily the county proper. I'm gonna talk to them about replacing the generator. The generator here is the original generator.
oh,
No,
goodness.
it's a workhorse. It's a great generator. The people we've had look at it in the past have all said, there's nothing wrong with this generator. But now we've had a failure. So we need to have that conversation again.
And then our emergency, did we have a backup then? I mean, I would think there
So
would be a
this-
backup for the backup.
So this was an unusual circumstance. This building and the EOC and the data center actually are connected to 3 separate sections of the grid. So we have 3 pieces of the electric grid come to this building, and any one of them is capable of powering the EMA and the data center, okay, for backups. Then, if all 3 of those phases of power happen, then we go in UPS. If that goes on for more than a few moments, it's not just a momentary interruption, then the generator kicks on. Power went out in those 3 phases, but different ones were kicking on and off. So it kept turning the generator on and off, and cycling it, and cycling it, and cycling it. We don't know, but we suspect that that cycling on and off actually damaged the batteries in the UPS, because we're supposed to get like 40 minutes. We did not get 40 minutes of,
I can't see it. Ours is set for 20, and that's what alarmed us for that 12 minutes that you saw. So that's what we have. Yeah, we have no visibility on yours, that's what we're gonna talk about. Right, so I don't know how long yours was set to run.
we were getting notices, but they kept clearing. So, yep, there's a problem, yes, it's cleared, yes, there's a problem, yes, it's cleared. Then the generator kicked on, finally, when the power was out long enough, the generator kicked on, and then that generator failed. Or it's got a signal that it failed. They did find a part that was a problem, so obviously there was some form of problem. So, CAD, we only have 1 CAD right now. We don't have the backup is not operational. So when this building went down, CAD went down.
That's what I was wondering.
Well, the thing we have
We
to
don't,
remember.
we don't have it that's operational.
Well, the thing we have to remember is that our backup, even if it was functional, is not a hot flip. So, and again, the ones that have been in the PSAP understand this. It's a disaster recovery site. It sits in a warm mode, as they call it. If we couldn't get that CAD back up, we have to go to Westcom and fire that system up. It takes about an hour and a half to fire that system up. So we were on the phone when Wes got here with Mike's team. It was determined that the generator could get turned right back up. It was shorter time to bring the CAD up here than to bring staff over to Westcom and bring that one up. So they're not a hot swap. It takes an intervention to bring that system up because it mirrors the current one here, so they both can't be on at the same time.
My point really was more procedural. I get this stuff breaks, that happens. But in terms of, like, we always try to reduce our response time by everything we can do, that if that generator kicks on, my concern is that somebody needs to come here just to see what's going on from the first notification, notwithstanding any reset or not. That in my view, that's what should happen. That might have happened, but.
And we had people here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Both the ETSB and
I'm
county.
just always looking at a way to compress that response.
Fair enough.
And then, the generator, I can attest to this because I'm usually here, the generator every Thursday, 5 o'clock, and it takes a load. I mean, the lights flicker for a second, so the generator is run and it actually takes the building as a load every week. It just, this time, wasn't in the cards for it.
Okay, anything else, Mike?
That's it.
Long-range planning, if anyone's interested in taking the chairmanship, Howard and I have agreed not to take chairman slots, so he and I will be attending meetings, but not in any official capacity per se, so we're looking for a chair for that until we resolve the committee of the whole aspect of it. So if anyone's interested, please contact me on that. We discussed some legislative issues. There is a SAB meeting. There was one in July, but it was canceled. Next one is Monday. There's a fairly good chance that I'll be going down to Springfield that day. We're hoping that Carl Town has the charts worked out so we know what our January changes will look like. Keep in mind that with the new act, even though the rates went from 87 cents to $1.05, it does not kick in until January 1st. And with the state's infinite wisdom on money handling, we're probably not going to see any of that increase until probably June or July. So we're not going to be seeing that increase in the short haul. And for Steve's planning benefit, we need to get some numbers in hand so we can intelligently. It's okay. So we can intelligently plan for our own budget. It's kind of ironic that the state is mandating that we give them a 5-year financial projection, yet they can't tell us what they're going to do to us in 6 months. So it's kind of ironic, but that's so goes the state. There was an update on the Laramie building. Brad or Mr. Contro, any discussion, or Nick, any discussion on the new building?
As far as the dispatch center, we did the walkthrough yesterday for the punch list. Everything's moving forward on that. Give or take a week, maybe 2, to finish the items on the punch list that we found yesterday. There was nothing outside the normal. Fix this, change that, move this. We're on schedule for September 5th, 6th for the first vendor to come in and start. Hardware's going on the doors this week, so our area will all be secured. Did the failover on the generators. Again, here comes the generators discussion. There's 2 generators out there, and we went through the process of how each one, if each one fails, how the other one backs up the other one, went to full buildings. And we also brought in a portable, because each generator has the opportunity to be backed up by a portable. So we failed both, brought the portable in, and everything worked fine. So checking out the UPSs. There's no problems with those on our side that they're worried about, and it's just now installing the equipment. So everything on that side of the house is going good.
And Dale, you've got a timeline on when the 4 centers are going to all come in. You want to review those dates?
Currently, right now, we have the Will County Sheriff's Department moving in on December 11th, EastCom moving in on December 13th, Romeoville moving in on December 18th.
18th is
I'm sorry.
Romeoville's last. 18th would be
You switch those?
who's the 4th? Lincoln Way.
Lincoln Way on the 18th, Romeoville on the 20th.
So we'll be in before Christmas.
And then the timeline for our office is moving in the week of December 4th.
Okay. Matrix review, we'll do that towards the end of the meeting. Just so it's clear to the rest of the board members, for each committee meeting, Howard and I reviewed the matrix report with each committee, and we're going to try to summarize a little bit towards the end of this meeting today. Bylaw change, that's on our roadmap anyway for a modification to the bylaws. John Kelly informed us that we need to make a bylaw change if we want to opt for the committee of the whole. So that's going to be a work in progress. We just can't snap our fingers and make that work necessarily, so we have to work that through. That's all I've got for LRP. Brad, personnel.
Thanks, Steve. The Tier 1 hiring. Steve, you want to talk about the process? You want me to skim it?
Sure. The board approved a Tier 1 help desk desktop technician for IT group. We had 17 or 18 applications. We narrowed those down to 5 or 6 candidates to be interviewed. Brad sat in with staff on an interview process, and we selected a fine young man, Mike Aducci, for that position. We've talked to him about it. He's accepted the position pending board approval today. We'd like to start him at the lowest salary of our pay scale at $46,361, which would be a Tier 1, Level 1 person. He's going to be a good asset to our staff, and our IT really needs that extra support to really put all the work that they've been.
Motion.
Second.
Motion for resolution 08242017-01, I'm assuming. Motion by Klima, second by Suzanne, correct?
Yep.
Okay, any discussion? Do we need a roll call on that? Jackie, will take the roll, please.
Ms. Guzan?
Yes.
Mr. Contro?
Yes.
Mr. Damron? Mr. Hart, I'm sorry, Ms. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Klima?
Yes.
Mr. Crow?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Router?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Shay?
Aye.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Veerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wassinger?
Yes.
Sorry.
Motion passes, thank you.
Thank you. Item B, the Personnel Committee met earlier in the month and discussed about the process for doing an investigation to replace the chief administrator. There was healthy discussion. There's a couple tasks that we gave Steve to have to us so we can have it ready for the meeting. We're meeting again on the 31st of this month to move forward. We discussed 3 agencies to help do the testing. It wasn't determined yet if we were going to do one. And we also, there was discussion to reach out to use Will County's HR department, which we'll have discussions with Bruce Tidwell about that, to join us at our next meeting possibly to help with that. So we're moving forward on that. The matrix review, Steve will cover all of those when he gets them all. And that's all I have. No need for closed session.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a need for closed session under personnel? Hearing none, we'll move on. F&E, Julie is attending the funeral of one of her spouse of one of her employees, so she's not here today. If anybody else wants to chime in, if I miss anything, please do so. F&E met. We needed to place our report on file, so I'll entertain a motion for resolution 08242017-02 as presented.
So move, Shay.
Shay?
Second, Veerman.
Veerman?
Previous rule.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. I'm sorry, you made the motion for previous?
Previous, yes, sir.
And who made the second? Lima? You get that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay? Thank you. The second item is the replacement of the 911 administrative phone system. We've been going back and forth on this, working with the county on it. It was discussed in a committee to proceed as follows per the resolution. So entertain a motion for resolution 08242017-3.
Question.
Second? No second?
Riddle.
Riddle, second. Okay, discussion? Go ahead.
As many of you know, I've been I oppose this. I continue to oppose this for multiple reasons. We installed a system. I'm hard pressed to imagine that we couldn't find a way to accommodate the needs of staff, considering all the other needs that the county phone system handles, including the coroner, the special operations group, a number of other 24/7 operations, call centers and vectors. I know staff feels differently. They've expressed that. The other thing is I have safety concerns about this, primarily that this would take the ETSB admin offices off of the in-house building paging system in the new facility. So in the event that there are announcements in the building that are necessary for the ETSB staff to know about, they will not be on that system. They will also not be able to use that system out. We have 4-digit dialing. The other thing is that this is on Comcast. As I've expressed in the past, I'm unconvinced of the reliability of Comcast. So if the county system is not the solution for them, which I actually believe it is, but if it's not, in the event, I'm not necessarily convinced that this Comcast service is the correct solution. You know, we had 6 hours, or not 6 hours, 6 days of Comcast outage in downtown Joliet in the last year. So why would we put something that's clearly so critical onto that service? I will be voting no on this. I encourage others to do so as well. But you know, staff is convinced that we need to spend this $8,000 a year to serve that need. So I've expressed my concerns.
Okay, any further discussion, Nick?
I know we discussed this a little bit in committee, but can we hear from staff just
Certainly.
what the argument for it, just so both sides?
Dale?
Sure. So prior to looking at the county system, we spent about 6 months looking at different systems to meet the needs of the ETSB. Our primary goal is to make sure that staff is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for all of our agencies and our PSAPs in an emergency. That's our primary. I do not disagree that the county phone system can make phone calls. We can get phone calls out. And when it's in a normal mode, yes, it does satisfy us for on-call. The The issue that we have is just like our PSAPs and the rest of our stuff, is we consider our office a mission-critical office. So the current application we're looking from Comcast doesn't run on Comcast's cable network that they've had the outages. This is a cloud-based service. So in the event that our office loses power, or the switch loses power, like what happened unfortunately with the generator here, that system is based in Comcast's multiple data centers that automatically then routes it to the individual phones that we have set up. So for the outside caller, if they call the support line, it's automatically going to route, regardless if that building is standing, if our thing is in place or not. It also allows us then through our phones to call back in through the phone system. So if the building is not even functioning, the phone system will always be. It's not dependent on power, UPS, or anything in our new building. That's the primary goal for us. Now there's some other ancillary stuff that we wanted on the system. One, we can change messaging on the fly. Unfortunately, we can't with the county system. We have to get a hold of Mike, his staff, to be able to record it, add it to the system, get it programmed. We can do that on the fly. Staff has the ability on the fly to change their routing. So for whatever reason, if Dale's in a bad coverage area and I need to change my outgoing message when someone calls me, I can go into the system anywhere that I have internet access, change it and say now route it to Dale's home phone because the cell phone's out of service. So it gives us another level of mission critical support for the phone system. We looked at on-premise and cloud-based. This one appeared to fit all the things that we needed to stay mission critical.
I have a question. What about the sheriff's, Bob, the sheriff's department? Aren't you a part of our system as well?
We are.
And that's critical.
And the system was down when the phone system went down. We couldn't call into the center.
When was that system down for the first time in 25 years?
Well, second time in 25 years.
Yeah.
And never for long.
But
Just
I mean,
like
as far
you
as
said,
cloud-based
just-
services.
But their
there's still
911
weak-
system is not through the county phone system. Even when the county phones went down, the citizens could still call 911 and get their 911 center because it doesn't run through the county phone system.
Well, if this is an ongoing situation, I could see, but.
Just
still, I'm
ask
not
my
justifying
opinion.
the money.
Just ask it. It's actually $208 more a month than what we're paying now. It's not $8,000 more a year. We currently pay $346 a month for our PRI, for our phone lines.
Well, but it's $8,000 more than you would pay if you were on the county system.
Well,
Because
right
we
now,
would
we're
just
still
absorb.
paying for our
Well, we're not
PRI,
talking
and
about
we're
right
paying,
now,
and
we're
we're
talking
paying
about
for,
future.
right, and we're paying for the T1 going to our building. So there is some cost involved in that other phone system. Yes, the reason why we're looking at this system, that's our reason why we're looking at it.
And I believe that the sheriff's office is still having issues with their phones.
No? Bob says no?
I haven't heard
The
that.
last meeting.
I haven't either.
You guys still having issues with the phones?
At the tech meet, or the
3 weeks ago.
yeah.
Right.
When the committee met, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, when the committee met, there were still issues with the, as a recovery from the outage here in this building.
So Dale, you're saying that even when you move into the new building with the new generator and everything else, the features are still not gonna work for what you're trying to do?
We ran through both. There's two scenarios that we can have with the county phone system. We can currently have it how it's configured at our 911 office now, where our PRI lines come in straight to our switch, phone switch in our suite. Well, that allows us to do that. If we lose connection to the county phone system, we can make phone calls in. The help desk still doesn't work coming in because they come through our PRI and then they go ahead and talk to the county's main switch and do all the routing for the on-call. The other option is to send our PRIs to the main system here. That's fine, the help desk will work, but guess what? The office can no longer make phone calls in or out because the phone lines are not at our office when we're separated from the main switch. So those are the two different ways to set it up. Talk to Mike Klugel about it. Those are the only two ways. So if we're trying to meet that mission critical, you guys can always get a hold of us somehow. That doesn't meet it. Everything else, I agree. Speed dial, 4-digit. The speaker system in the new building, I'm told those speakers can be attached to the county phone system in our building. It has nothing to do with what phone system we're using internally. They're speakers with wires. Plug them into the phone system in the PSAP. We're not going to use them internally. We page just between our phones. So we'll still have those emergency if the PSAP has to let everybody know to evacuate. That's not on our phone
So
system.
the county's moving to IP Flex, and so we will not be single connectivity out to AT&T. When Laraway's up and running, we will be redundant to both locations. So either one's up and running, it'll be running, and then the courthouse will actually be a third separate connection. So, I mean, we're actually setting up a separate telephone room / external connectivity room in each one of those facilities.
So
You know what I mean?
they will
So
be.
a DMARC.
So they'll be completely redone. So if the Laraway becomes isolated from the rest of the county system, they will have the full
If the county died,
functionality.
if this building were, if that were to happen after the IP Flex project is complete, which is a couple of years off, just to be clear,
Okay.
yes.
Well, we can look at a couple of years, a 3-year contract. I mean, again, it's only a
I
3-year
just-
contract, so in 3 years, if the county now has a system that's up that meets our mission critical part, I have no issue. Currently, again, making phone calls and day-to-day use, I don't have an issue with the system, it works fine.
Our main line that comes into our office, I'm not able to transfer to your extensions, and those people cannot leave voicemails. They have to dial direct line. So I usually answer the main phone, and I have to give people, because now I had to get a private number.
But I can transfer calls to you, and people at your office are transferring calls to us.
No, outside people
What's
calling
happening
in.
Mike, I haven't got a voicemail in 3 weeks, and I can't figure out why. The only way I can get a voicemail is if you dial my
What's
direct
happening-
line.
Yeah.
Then something's going on with, you need to, have you talked to Kaluga?
Yeah, what Mike told me is how our phone tree is set up for our office, and if someone calls in and it hits our phone tree, because say someone's not answering the phone, and they pick Dale, when it transfers to me, it uses some 4-digit dialing, it'll never go to my voicemail. So anytime they call my phone directly, it goes, and he cannot figure out why it does it.
And during the meeting, the tech meeting, the conference room.
Why are they on our call? Aren't they on
Right, yeah, you use the same thing, you transfer, you use the internal, for some reason, it won't never go to voicemail. So I don't know why it doesn't do it. Again, those are the minor things that I would, any system I hope we get fixed, but again, you guys asked me on the mission critical side, and that's our reason.
As a dispatch center, it's critical for my people to be able to get a hold of the 911 staff at all times.
What's the guarantee from Comcast on their, if there's an outage wherever this is, you said it's multiple places.
Right. Our system is in multiple data centers, Comcast data centers. Obviously, we don't know exactly where those are for obvious reasons. But it's all cloud-based. So again, anywhere that I can get on the internet, I have access off of my phone. So the only outage that we could possibly experience is going to be our internet connection to Comcast, which is fiber, and we haven't had any issue with our fibers in all our centers, for our local phones on our desk. If that goes away, the system still stays up and running because it's not based in any of our facilities.
And Comcast is not Comcast. We have Comcast business class fiber coming in. It's not like residential, consumer grade stuff, cable based. It's business class
It's the
service.
same, yeah, it's the same service that we use for all our fiber.
We've also had Comcast fiber outages.
We have not. Knock on wood, since 2014, we've not had any outages.
But also, I mean, let's also not fool ourselves that cloud-based services are not foolproof either.
Well, I'm not saying
There
they're
have been
not.
cloud outages regularly for Amazon, for Microsoft,
Oh,
for.
you're absolutely correct,
I mean-
and like we do with everything else we hear, because everyone, most of our stuff here is technology, we try to do the best we can to make it the most resilient. But you're correct, I can't guarantee it'll never have an outage.
Call the question.
Okay, because of this, I'm asking for a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Buzan?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Contros?
Yes.
Mr. Damron?
No.
Ms. Hart?
No.
Mr. Klima?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Router?
Aye.
Mr. Shay?
No.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Veerman?
Yes.
Mr. Wozni?
Yes.
Eight aye.
Three no.
8 aye, 3 no, motion carries, so that resolution's passed. Keep on going here for the matrix review, we'll do that a little bit later. Surcharge grant program, one of the things that's been discussed, you'll notice there's no motion on here quite yet, but it's up for discussion and will be bubbling through the committees also. And I'm going to have Howard explain it since it was basically his idea.
Well, there's a whole lot of different options. Every year we're talking about what's fair for everybody. And as we know, the phone line phone lines are going down. And is it tracking the 911 calls in the center? Is it actually making calls on the CAD? Is it splitting it 3 ways? So the executive board sat down one day and we talked about it, and we came up with a recommendation, but it's open for discussion, obviously, for everybody, to just simplify it, split it 3 ways, whatever the pool of money is, split it 3 ways with the PSAPs. But if there is a better, more fair way to do it, let's talk about it, and let's come up with a better, fair way to do it, that we can actually track the population in a fair way, or track the 911 calls in a fair way, whatever. So like Steve said, it's bubbling up to the committees, and it's open for discussion on what everybody wants to do or what everybody thinks.
Who's winning and who's losing on this end here when it comes to revenue?
For Westcom, we're losing a little bit.
I'd like to see those numbers on, because we've been doing it the other way the whole time, right? With
Exactly. The numbers have been out. If you want to review the last packet that went out, all the numbers are there. We looked at those same numbers. We looked at a couple different directions on this. One of the things that Westcom has done over the 10 years of the grant program is have the individual agencies pool their monies together, meaning Karen has to track down 21 IGAs to compile them, and then we do a master deal. I know other people do it differently. But it'll actually decrease us by a little bit, but it'll be far more efficient for staff to handle, far fewer IGAs to pass, and if we give Brad that amount of money, and if his agencies decide to then divvy it up again, that's on LCC. God bless, do it the same way we've always done it, but it seems to be, and I agree with Howard's recommendation, but it's up for discussion.
We talked about this at Westcom. It wasn't the chief's level, but the tech level. Nobody had an objection to it, but I do know your guys and some of your municipalities count on that as revenue.
Right.
So it may be a point of contention. So I would suggest that it goes back to the individual groups and let them talk about it amongst themselves. Again, like you said, you guys can get your chunk and then divvy it up again if you want. It'd be more work on your end rather than Karen's end, but you know, I think that everybody needs to have a discussion about this. Even though I know that some of the, like, I know your village administrator explicitly told me that that's a particular portion. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's money. So I don't want to have that.
Right, and the limited nature by the act, you're limited on certain things you can buy anyway, so even if it does go directly to municipalities, it still has to pass muster for it has to be auditable and pass muster for the act as far as the expense.
That also creates an odd situation where you may be de-incentivizing moves or creating another odd situation in that if a municipality or a group of municipalities move between call centers, their money doesn't, the surcharge money doesn't move with them.
For purposes of the grant to support the PSAP, and that was the intent, to support the PSAP necessarily, not necessarily to benefit the agencies, but to benefit the 3 PSAPs.
If I were an agency, I'm not sure I'd agree with that.
We've been doing it for 10 years. So.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
And we absolutely tell everybody every year, this should not be considered a revenue source. It's absolutely not to be intended to be that way. You could pull the money today in the budget and say there is no more fund. So for some administrator to think this is his annual revenue, it's absolutely incorrect.
I agree with that.
But this could be used towards salaries, right, for dispatchers?
It can be, yes.
So
it's under, whatever is allowable under the act, and salary certainly can be a portion.
So it could come off the budget that you're paying Westcom or you're paying the new Lincoln Way or whatever. So if you do move, you can't take that money with you to pay those, to offset your yearly costs.
Bob, we review this plan every year. If something radically changes or all of a sudden everybody leaves Laraway and comes to me, I'm sure I'll be knocking on the door here to say, how about some more? But because we review this every year, and as Steve says, and ever since it started, Steve has always reminded me, don't count on it, because it may disappear the following year. Look what the state did to us on the 5-month stoppage of our revenue. We stalled it 2 years ago. We stalled it.
I don't have an issue. It's just when you say Westcom's going down a little, we don't know what these other ones, I mean, if we can break this down somehow without a bunch of...
And we did and we can, and we'll get that out in the committee level again, but it seems to be a lot less effort on staff. It seems to be much more fair. It goes to the intent, and it still allows the flexibility. So if it goes If it goes to Laraway and they still want to divvy it up, that's their prerogative to do so.
With that argument, I mean, I look at it as, and again, it's just going to create a little bit of difference between the centers as you look at the total number of 911 calls instead of just doing it in thirds. I mean, obviously, Laraway's going to be busier, there's going to be more agencies, and if I got to give it back to my agencies, then it's going to be an easier way for me to give that back to the agencies because we're looking at a total number of 911s instead of just splitting it into thirds.
This is all up for discussion. If someone has a
And that's
brilliant
my-
idea that's
that's my
far more
discussion
fair,
point.
we looked at 911, there's some real anomalies between the amount of 911 calls handled by one particular PSAP versus the number of CAD generation. It seems that almost that particular town uses it more like 311 or more. Maybe they get one accident, but they get 10 cellular calls where I don't know. But the equipment is still the equipment in each of the three centers. We still have to maintain, we still have to do things and pay for things, in some cases people. But if someone comes up with a brilliant idea of a better way to divvy it up and have less burden on staff, we want to, you know, I'll speak for Howard here, but we want to hear those ideas.
Yeah, bring the ideas. Chief Riddle and myself, we brought it up at the Will County Chiefs. I know I brought it up at Mavis 19, haven't heard a peep from anybody. Bring it back to your chiefs organizations, bring it back to your PSAPs, talk about it. We want to get ideas. If there's a fair way to do it, let's figure it out.
Okay, again, there's no motion for this, just want to get that discussion moving. Steve, you want to comment on the budget?
Sure. So we've gone through the budget process with the county. We went through our review with the county's budget director and had no problems at all with that. We're still faced with a couple of major problems. The state is still 4 months behind in our payments, so they owe us $2 million. The legislator for the state asked an increase in the 911 surcharge. We have absolutely no idea how much of that $1.50 we're going to get, nor is anybody able to tell us how much. And best guess in talking to the finance director for 911 at the state level is we probably won't see those funds until at least mid-year next year, June or July. Because they're 4 months behind now, and it's going to be passed in January, and it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. So my best guess on looking at the numbers and trying to figure out where we are now, where we're going, is that we probably should receive it, probably at least $2 million more a year, hopefully. So if we have $2 million that are in arrears and $2 million more coming, that's $4 million in revenue that I can't put into the budget because it's all hypothesis right now. So we have a balanced budget of $10,798,000. It is an increase due to anticipated increased revenue. And again, we talked about this with the county finance department and the budget director. They're absolutely understand the situation we've been in for the last 4 or 5 years and why we went through each line item, made corrections, additions, or deletions as we could. So we feel confident that the entire budget as a whole for line items is good. We just really have no clue on new revenue coming in and how much that's going to be affected. We probably won't know until this time next year for the following year's budget.
Keep in mind that Public Act 100-22, which is the revenue source for all of this, there's a built-in sweep of, I believe, $7 million. So if everything holds, we're about 10% of the take. Will County could lose about $700,000. So it's a moving target. That's why we're paying attention to what goes on in the SAB. And it's, like I said, it's a tough thing to pin down. It's like nailing Jello to the wall sometimes.
So I'll present the final budget to you for your October meeting. Our fiscal year starts December 1st. And like I said, if we get any updates, we'll try to make adjustments. I talked to Carl Pound at the state the other day, and that's the best projection I can get from him.
Anything else on the budget? Okay, renewal results, annual maintenance, looking for motion for resolutions 08242017-4. So we've got Aaron and Pam. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Ms. Buzan? Yes. Mr. Contro?
Yes.
Mr. Damrock?
Aye.
Ms. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Klima?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Router?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Veerman?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Wassing?
Yes.
Next one is for purchase of PSAP items. Dale, you want to explain that one?
These are additional parts that we need to finish up installation at Laraway. I'm pretty sure we will have some more coming in October. But these are for the Bud Lights, for wireless access points, vertical grounding, bar racks and stuff in the equipment. I call it ancillary stuff parts, but that's what it's for.
And Bud Lights is not a beverage, it is a busy user display.
The lights you see in all position with around the phone on the radio for those that have been in the centers.
Looking for a motion for resolution 08242017-5.
So move, Shay.
Shay,
Control.
Contro second.
Previous Veerman.
Previous Veerman.
Second, Shay.
Second Shay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Thank you. Last item is renewal of Everbridge mass notification, and I don't know if Harold wants to discuss that at all, or?
Sure. This is the mass notification, team notification system, which for the last few years has been split between EMA, ETSB, and then also City of Joliet. So this is the renewal. Actually, the renewal, I think, was supposed to be about a month ago, and they just finally got around to sending us the invoice. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's pretty much what happened.
And Ken, you guys use this as a room bill too, right? We do. Okay. I use that. You use it too? Okay. Looking for a motion for resolution 08242017-6.
As presented.
Second, Shay.
Veerman, Shay,
Previous Veerman.
previous Veerman, second Klima. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. Thank you. I don't think we have the need for closed session unless anybody else does. We have nothing going there, okay. Additional comments, I'd like to draw your attention to the other handout, the draft of the matrix report. This is an interesting work pattern because in some cases we're criticized for moving too slow, and in other cases we're criticized for moving too fast. So we wanted to get this in front of every committee, which we did. Just to give you some impetus behind this or some background behind this, Steve, myself, and Howard met. We wanted to get Steve's view on some of this stuff, plus review some of the items that other people have commented on. We asked Steve, and this was a work request from Howard and myself, from Steve, to put this together. Howard and I went through each one and had our own opinions, but we wanted to get it in front of each committee. I know that some folks say that this is moving too fast. They want a little bit more time to digest this and act on it. What I'd like to do is basically draw your attention to two major concepts. One is, and this was almost done backwards, but we're going to kind of reverse this around. The survey that was done was very complimentary, for the most part, of staff and of the board. So we need to kind of take the matrix report and kind of celebrate the fact that we do a lot of things right, and we have, for the most part, customers, if you will, that are pleased with the performance of staff and the office. On the contrary, what we identified, and is, in my opinion, is going to be front and center for the near future, is to develop a service level agreement, SLA, between the ETSB and each PSAP, and between the ETSB and each agency. What I mean by that, and this has been done in Peoria County successfully, is if you recall, the F&E committee for years has had what they call an equipment list, meaning if I intend to run a PSAP, there's certain things I need to provide. I need to provide power, security, locked doors, all the rest of that stuff that's on the equipment list. But then ETSB provides us with phone equipment, CAD equipment, radio consoles, etc. So there's a stated delineation between what the PSAP's obligated to bring to the table and what ETSB's obligated to bring to the table. This is a formalization of that, as well as an expansion of that, such that the PSAPs would then agree to certain training levels, certain personnel levels, and that type of thing. When it comes to the SLA between the ETSB and a given agency, it would be an agreement, very clear agreement, such that if we all decide to buy a certain piece of software, the agencies would then be told they're obligated to have certain hardware to run that software. Just as an example. It would also delineate communication paths as far as how we get information to people. Whatever we want to make these, it's kind of like a blank sheet. But the idea is to have a stable SLA between ETSB and the PSAPs and between the ETSB and the agencies. That would clean up a lot of things that are found in the matrix report, in my opinion. So, Howard, do you want to comment any further on that?
No, we talked about it at committee, and that pretty much covers it, yeah.
Okay. So unless there's, and we don't have any motion on this, but we wanted to get this in front of everybody, and again, we were not asking people at committee to commit or vote or go on record for anything. We wanted to educate folks on what we found in the matrix report. This is the opportunity for the board as a whole, if you didn't make the committee meetings, to review this. Again, not looking for a motion, but I'm trying to lay out what I think is a good general direction to keep moving ahead, and I think the concentration should be on the SLA. Mike?
So just to be clear, I thought that these were Steve's recommendations. Are you saying this is a set from the executive committee? You said we.
Well, we discussed this stuff, and we gave Steve instructions to do this document.
Correct. Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
I can't be any more clear, Mike. We sat down with Steve, and we asked him to draft this document. Now, at committee, the discussion of the SLAs came up, and I think that it was fairly well accepted that the SLA is probably a way to clean up the majority of what was revealed in the matrix report. Now, if I'm wrong, please help me out, but I think that's the way to go.
I guess I'm asking, my understanding is that this was Steve's response to, staff's response to the matrix audit. Are you saying that this is the executive committee's response, or this is staff's response?
I'm saying that when the executive committee met, Howard and I asked Steve to come up with this document.
Okay.
And it's up to the committees to either react to it, dismiss it, modify it, talk about it. And again, Mike, I'm getting two sides of the continuum here. Got people that we're moving way too fast, or why aren't we doing something? And I got to moderate that and try to give a plan or a framework to move ahead, because we have to move ahead. Yes, sir.
Because we talked about this in the committee. I mean, my understanding is what you just said. You asked for it. It says the chief administrator's review and recommendations. This is from the staff. Yep. And what you assured us then and today was that was a review. We didn't necessarily, as a board, we haven't taken a hard and fast position. Now is the time, because prior to our committees this month, we did not have a staff response.
Correct.
So now I feel like at least I personally feel like now we've got the staff's response. We can agree with the staff, disagree with the staff, but now is the time to have the discussion.
Exactly.
And then we're going to take action.
Exactly. And my preference is to do that within the committee structure, but it's your floor.
So if you asked for it, you got it.
Exactly, so Nick, and thanks for summarizing that. I'm trying to be as crystal clear as I could, and you summarized it well.
Do you have a copy of this SLA that's out there? Have you got a?
We're securing all the information we can. We're working on how they do it. We're looking for others nationwide, but I don't have it today. But
not as many people are doing this, Brad.
I understand, but you're citing that they have one out there and it's working great. It'd be nice to see what's working great.
That's my thing. That's the number one priority. That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
Also does SLAs internal and external.
We're looking.
Okay.
And if any folks have ideas or examples or other framework that they want to send it to me or Howard, and we'll make sure it gets front and center on the agendas as we go through this. Trying to make the most out of the matrix report and get some tangible stuff in front of everybody. So. Okay. Is there any other stuff to come before us? Steve, do you have any additional comments?
No, I guess just to be clear though, on the matrix, we'll be looking to revisit the matrix and this document at the committee levels.
John, do you have anything for the group as far as?
No.
Anything?
The only thing is the statewide advisory board, there are 6 members whose appointments are up August 31st, several of which are PSAP representatives. There has been no information from the governor's office as to whether or not he is going to reappoint those people, if he's going to make new appointments, or in what time frame that's going to occur. They're probing the governor's office, which is in a state of flux given the transition of his advisors, and they hope to have something for the board meeting on Monday, but right now there's no comfort level as to who's actually going to be sitting on that board after August 31st.
I wanted to point out one thing that happened when the SAB was first formed. Illinois NINA was basically told by the governor's office who their rep was going to be, as opposed to NINA selecting someone to sit on the board. That did not sit well, and in the second round that was ultimately corrected. We are seeing the possibility the same type of thing may occur at APCO, and I assure you as an APCO board member, we're making steps to make sure that does not happen, that the appointment or representative that will be representing Illinois APCO on that board will indeed be endorsed and backed by the organization itself. So we got to keep an eye on all this stuff, because it is Illinois.
John, how is that board represented? What's the makeup of the board?
It's representative, the police chiefs, representative, the fire chiefs, a representative of the large counties, the medium-sized counties, the small counties, NINA, APCO, state police. And then there's 2 advisory positions from the carriers, right?
Yes.
2, I think it's 2
yeah.
non-voting advisory positions from the carriers.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Reminder of the personnel meeting, 31st, 9 a.m., ETSB offices, if anybody wants to attend.
I can't be there that day, I told you that already. I can't, I gotta be somewhere.
What is it?
It's, the personnel committee is having a special meeting on the 31st, 9 a.m.
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Brad, second by Klima. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
31st.